Il est 9h05. Bonjour à tous. Merci de vous être connectés pour cette morning session dédiée à Palo Alto. Donc, je me présente, Pierre-Louis Epacka. Donc, je suis ingénieur avant-vente chez Boll Engineering, donc basé sur la Romandie, donc au Mont-sur-Lausanne précisément. Je vais vous accompagner aujourd'hui avec mes collègues et la personne de Palo Alto, Müller, pour la présentation de ce jour. Donc, l'agenda d'aujourd'hui, donc c'est une présentation, une démo de Strata Cloud Manager, donc par Michael qui sera effectuée en anglais. Donc ça va être une session mix français-anglais. Ensuite, il y a ma collègue Sylvia qui va présenter les nouvelles features de la version PanOS 11.1 en anglais également. Et après, pour finir, je vais vous parler des nouveaux modèles hardware, donc en français, et les dernières nouveautés Palo à venir. Et si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas à les poser tout au long des sessions. Si on a les questions en direct, on essaiera d'y répondre. Sinon, on fera une séance à la fin également, où on reviendra par mail ou par téléphone vers vous. Donc, n'hésitez pas et bonne session à tous. Je passe la main à Michael pour qu'il puisse faire sa présentation.
Merci beaucoup. Just a second. And
yes,
let me know
screen
if
is
you
on.
can see my screen. Perfect. That's what we want to hear. So yes, welcome everybody. And sorry that I'm not able to talk in your langue maternelle to you. So you have to be happy with the English language. I'm sorry for that one. So yes, my part today will be around the Strata Cloud Manager. The Strata Cloud Manager is basically a new innovation that came from Palo Alto Networks that is here to reinvent the way you manage your network security stack over all the arches. And you see in the presentation, it also mentions it in the title already. It's the session for in 5 minutes. So basically, I took the very shortest presentation that I could have found to leave out most of the material, marketing material, and to really focus on what the tool provides. We will have a demo session where I will be showing you a demo infrastructure, but also like my home lab, the firewall that we get from Palo Alto Networks that I have onboarded to Strata Cloud Manager to get some experience on it and to be able to show you something. So, perfect. Where are we today? So we see it more and more with our customers. They do have by now security stacks. They have security stacks that are quite dispersed, so in various different fields. They do have, most of them, of course, have still a hardware stack, meaning their data center, their campuses, their branches, wherever they have a need for physical infrastructure, but also the software security stack, meaning VMs, CN firewalls for container-based security, as well as in the bottom, that is something that is coming more and more, and we see a really big interest, especially in the bigger customers. That is the whole SASE stack, so the Secure Access Service Edge stack. Now, of course, it's cool to have all these stacks, but if you have a different configuration, a different policy, a dispersed policy over all those stacks, this doesn't make it easier to get them managed properly. And what this leads to is basically, you see it on the most left-hand side, you have so many tools, so many places where you would need to go and check for the health, for the metrics, if everything's all right. Without a huge manual effort, it's just not possible to prevent disruptions in the network if you do not have like a big observability suite that is telling you all about it. You can still hear me, can you?
Yeah, I can hear you, even though your video is frozen sometimes a little bit.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yes, because I had to jump. I'm on 5G because my home network's down, not because of the Palo, because of the ISP. But it shows me now that I'm offline. So just, I know. I'm not sure how you should tell me if I'm offline, but I will continue talking and hope that you hear me. So basically you want to watch all those devices to have a good idea about the health status of them. So this leads to disruptions, to network outages, which in average cost a company $1.3 million. The next thing is the thing of human error. So basically, if you do have a dispersed set of policies, you may not be the expert in all the tools that you need to manage, where you need to have a proper policy set up. So basically, the main cause for breaches, the main cause for data leakage is in 99% due to misconfiguration. So the systems would have been in place. It is just the configuration that's not done properly and have the easy.
Okay, Michael, I think now your audio is gone.
Set of tools and many places where you need to go. This does make it easy, and we see an average of 45 tools in use by customers they have to manage individually. Now, how do we tackle this? What do we do to mitigate that? We invented, or basically we brought on the Strata Cloud Manager, and this is now important to note. So this is not a Panorama in the cloud, even though it may give the impression to be it. But no, it's not it's not Panorama in the cloud. It's a new way of managing the firewall stack. It comes with a new logic as well. So if you are used to templates and device groups and whatnot within Panorama, it's no longer the same. We will see that in the demonstration. But it's yeah, really a new way to go. And as you can see in this dashboard, especially in the bottom part of it, it is there to support all form factors. So whatever you're using, if it's hardware firewalls, if it's CN, VM, or SASE, as I mentioned at the beginning, all of them can be covered with Strata Cloud Manager. Now, I think I can leave that part out. Of course, it's especially to mitigate what I just discussed before, the issues we have with the predictions that you cannot do, the network disruptions that happen because you do not have the capability of monitoring everything, and mainly the misconfiguration part. So the thing that you are not aware of configurations that may not be ideal and that may leave holes open for attackers to slip in. Now you for sure wonder, how does this thing work? So basically, and you will see here where this is coming from. So how does Strata Cloud Manager work? Or where does it get its intelligence from? And I'm sorry if you always see my global protect appearing. This is to my home network that is currently down, so it should not alert me all the time about it. Maybe I can drag it out. No, I cannot. Yes, so it is collecting the telemetry data. You may know this from another product that was AIOps Premium, and this is an important side note as well. So basically, Strata Cloud Manager is AIOps Premium, just its next iteration, and it had all the capabilities of analyzing data, of getting all those data in, and to do predictive alerting to give you a health score about the systems. But now it's also able to manage the systems by itself. So it's no longer a tool that is supporting Panorama or that is supporting other management capabilities. It's really here to manage it as well from one place. What can it do as well? You know it already from the AIOps Premium part. So the telemetry that we collect, of course, allows the Strata Cloud Manager to put an analytics engine on top of it, which makes it clear for it for stuff that is predictable. Of course, we're not claiming to do magic here, so we're not able to tell you when your RAM or CPU failure is going to happen, but stuff that is predictable, that follows a certain pattern. If we see like a NAT pool exhaustion, memory usage going up, stuff like this is being monitored automatically, of course, for every firewall that is being onboarded. And in case a prediction can be done on such a metric, it will alert you 7 days in advance if something is going to happen or if the system thinks something is going to happen. And of course, it will also provide you with a clue on what you can do to work around it. Next big thing, and this is to address the misconfiguration bits I talked earlier. So whatever you do in Strata Cloud Manager, you have the possibility to get certain security checks associated with it right away. So if you create a policy, you do have the best practice checks that will tell you when you are creating the firewall policy, what's not good about it, what could be improved, and maybe also what holes you're leaving open for attackers to get in. Of course, this is not only doable or not only coming up when you right away create those rules and stuff. It will also have the possibility to run a BPA that is doing this over your whole configuration and giving you a reply to, or giving you feedback on how your whole security posture is of the whole stack that you're using. So can be quite useful in preventing anything that is not best practice and where you're not following best practice. Of course, all of this, as I showed you before, is coming out of a single thing. So whatever you configure, be it the hardware, be it the VMs, be it SASE, it's a consistent configuration. So you're able to co-use the objects from one in the other place. You're able to write one policy that applies to all of them. You can do the inheritance thing, similar to what you're used to from Panorama. But now it's a little bit different. We remodeled that thing and made it, I would say, more flexible than it was with Panorama. Now it's called like folders, which is the place where you put your firewalls in, similar to device groups actually. And you have snippets, which I would say is more a templates on steroids thing. So templates got more the capabilities of also containing security policy, of containing net policies, and all the things that were so far not in the templates. But yeah, now it's a snippet. Basically, it's a snippet of your configuration, whatever part you wish to do. It's no longer limited to just a few things. All in all, this is supposed to fix the things I talked about before. So with the forecasting and the telemetry collection, you should get a better insight into your operational health of the firewalls, and with that predict and prevent disruptions. With the best practice checks that happen in real time and no longer just ad hoc as you're used to with the BPAs. You should have, at least if misconfigurations happen, they should be way quicker in being fixed. And in a perfect world, of course, the security checks are being looked at while creating the rules, which would mean the misconfiguration would never be even in place in the first place. And last but not least, of course, all of this is coming from a single web interface, meaning you have one web interface that you need to access and where you find all your information, all your data, all your configurations. And last but not least, for the guys that are attentive, you see we renamed one thing. So finally, it makes a bit more sense, and we call it now the Strata Logging Service. This is basically Cortex Data Lake. This part is really just the renaming to make it clear that the Strata Logging Service is purely a part of Strata and is not related to Cortex and Cortex Data Layer, or the Cortex per terabyte or per gigabyte now. Is a completely different product with this analytics on top of it. It's two products now, and just to make it clear, now it's called the Strata Logging Service. So far, this was the official presentation we have, and I added a small little part as a requirements list at the end to make sure that you guys understand what is needed and where we currently are, also in terms of readiness for your customers. So basically, right now it's PAN-OS 10.2.3 or higher that is required. I don't think that is going to be a main issue. The only thing you see is in the device configuration where you so far could switch to Panorama. You now have another radio button allowing you to migrate it to Cloud Manager. Of course, you need a Strata Cloud Manager subscription. This is important. This is a per firewall subscription. So compared to Panorama, where you were able to get one Panorama license for 25, 100, or 1,000 devices, this is no longer the case. Strata Cloud Manager really comes on a per firewall basis. And formerly, this was the AIOps Premium subscription that you could apply on a firewall. Also, in terms of pricing, nothing changed there, just enhancements on the capabilities. Just also as an information, you can still use it as AIOps. You do not have to onboard the firewalls to manage them. So this is important as well. AIOps can still run in the old fashion. It's just then called Strata Cloud Manager. You need a Strata data lake. This is, of course, important for the whole system to be able to get feedback on how your rules are being used, to to provide you with the dashboards, to give you insights in threads that happen, into attacks that were blocked, and attacks that were allowed, all these kind of things. It's mandatory to be there. Otherwise, the tool would probably not be that much of value. And the last part, this is my personal addition to it. I would say in its current state, the whole thing went GA in April this year. So it's still in its early shoes. It can do many things. It's quite stable. We have customers running it, even big customers working on it. But there are certain things that if you're coming from a Panorama, things that were there in Panorama since years, that may not be there. For example, the configuration of Global Protect on a firewall, we just onboarded that capabilities last month, meaning now it's possible as well, but there are certain things that you might be used to from a Panorama that you're able to manage it centrally. But in this case, sometimes it's not there yet and will be there very soonish. From what customers I would advise you to go for to experiment with it or to try it is one important thing, surely not a brownfield customer, so not a customer that is already in use. And by the way, I have seen the question. I will get into it in a minute. Don't do it in a customer that currently has Panorama, that is happy with Panorama, that is maybe just doesn't want to update his Panorama anymore. That doesn't really make sense. It's really focused on, I would say, customers that are brand new to Palo Alto Networks, that maybe just started the SASE journey. So if they have Prisma or they are exploring Prisma Access, it's a good way to start with Strata Cloud Manager. It's much quicker in being set up. It's much more logical to operate a cloud environment from the cloud. But then in the later stage, of course, onboard firewalls, showing them how it's a single pane of glass, how they can look at it from the Strata Cloud Manager. But a customer that is currently using Panorama and has its features and it doesn't have really pain points with Panorama, it doesn't make a lot of sense to migrate them for now. Also important to note, there is no official migration path as of now. So if a customer, Panorama user, would want to go to Strata Cloud Manager, it's manual work for now, so no import functions as of now. And Felipe, thank you for the question. The question was, how many data lake licenses do we need if we have Cortex and Strata product and we want to consolidate logs? So that is a very good question. And simply spoken, it's two. So you have the Strata data lake. That is a pure storage that is per terabyte still. Once you have it full, it starts rolling over from the back. So the oldest log getting deleted for newer logs. And it's there you're able to view it in the log viewer, you're able to analyze those logs, but almost no security analytics happen on it. So compared to the XDR Pro part, which is of course still a product that we push for, and that is super important if it is your threat analytics part. So that is then more on the SOC side, more for the SOC analysts. That is still the XDR Pro per gigabyte, where you basically buy a certain volume of data ingestion. And this data then is not only stored in a dead storage that you can look at, but this is all the time analyzed by the data analytics platform. It's being correlated with your endpoint logs, with your Active Directory logs, if you have them onboarded, with your cloud security, if you have Prisma Cloud or with Office 365 logs. All of these things get correlated and you do get security incidents out of it. Users doing things, machines behaving weirdly. Whereas in Strata Data Lake, this is really more if, let's say, a user is trying to access a website, it doesn't work, or she's trying to access a server, it doesn't work. You want to check out, was it app ID that was maybe seeing a new app ID? Is it a port that's not allowed? Is it decryption that failed? That is the part of Strata Data Lake. And the security analytics part, the SOC, the really security intelligence part is with Cortex Data Layer, as it's officially called now, which is the Cortex Pro per gigabyte subscription. I hope that is clear. And as there are no further questions as of now, I will go over and go into the demonstration. And I just hope that the internet is stable enough so that you see something. So to start off, and this is important, if you are trying, if you want to see it, and you're not familiar yet with the Hub 2.0 with the TSG, so on the top left, you have the switch where you can swap over to the new view where Strata Cloud Manager will be visible. You can see no AOps Premium anymore, just AOps for free. That still remains, that is untouched, and Strata Cloud Manager as the new management platform. I will open it up here as well. That is on my SE account, and this is the real official demonstration tenant. So I want to quickly go over the dashboard, as I think it's a beautiful new addition that came with Strata Cloud Manager. So coming from Panorama, where you had to build your own dashboards mostly, or you had some few there, and they were sometimes useful, sometimes not, maybe not fulfilling your use case. But here I would say you have a big new overview on dashboards, especially I may want to quickly go into the best practice one, and bear with me. I pray that my internet is working. It's also a US tenant, and me being on the 5G network could be a little bit of a wonky experience. I'll just refresh the session quickly. That's something that I can fill in the waiting time quickly. So the best practice part is really what you are used to from BPAs. So where you had to export the tech support file or stat-dumps file, upload them to a portal, wait for it to analyze it, and then you got a feedback on what can be improved, how your adoption is, and also a timeline on how it was in the past and how you are currently in the current time slot. These things that happens now not on demand anymore, but in real time. So whenever the Strata Cloud Manager recognizes a change in your system, anything that was changed in your configuration, it will rerun those checks and give you feedback on those. So whatever you have here, the firewalls, and you see how many checks were failed. The rest of them was of course passed. You do have the drill down menus here. So if you want to check out what is really wrong with the system, you see here, that's just an example now. This is really on a per rule basis. So you see a DOS rule protection where you should only be using the protect mode and not monitor mode. And this is going to alert you, stuff like this. This is really a simple rule that could have been improved. So the best practice part really is on a per rule basis or per configuration part basis. I think super useful if you need to drill down and help you mitigate or fix rules that could have room for improvement. But in the end, probably the security posture is more of interest, because what you get here, you get a real overview of something that is not well configured as a whole in your firewall. A good example of that is Quick, for example. So the protocol that we advise strongly to get it fixed or to get it blocked, sorry. Because we are not able to filter it, we are not able to decrypt it. So it's good if you have somewhere in your rule stack a policy that based on app ID says block Quick as a protocol. So the posture really goes over your whole device configuration, over your whole rule stack, and tells you something that is not good, that should be improved on the whole thing. Not a single policy as we just had with best practice. And I think that is a good thing. So here it advises that, are you sure that you need to use application override, right? Because the firewall can't inspect anything that is using application override. So the whole tool recognized you're using it and wants to make you aware that your security posture is being impaired based on the fact that you have configured such rules that just bypass the whole system. And you would get those alerts for each and every firewall, for each and every final configuration that you have. You see here, that is the one that I just mentioned. On that firewall, there is no rule that is blocking Quick. So things like this that really make sense that you quickly fix it. It also tells you what to do. So create a rule that has application like equals Quick and actually equals deny to make sure you're blocking that traffic. It's also going to tell you for sure which device it sees as impacted and should be able to help you fix that. Also, you have an activity tab where you see if it was ever fixed and is resurfacing, you would see that here as well. You do have many more dashboards, probably too many to go through. I think the one that I would like to show you, which also highlights one of the new features with Strata Cloud Manager, that is the PAN-OS CVEs. So basically, it should help you get your firewalls to a certain software level that is free or as free as possible of CVEs, so vulnerabilities. What you can do here is basically you see the CVEs that you are impacted from, and if you open it up, you see which firewall or which Panorama. In case you still use that, it's also possible to send the metrics from Panorama to Strata Cloud Manager. And from here, you see now, okay, this Affin London Panorama, it's vulnerable because it has 10.06. And now my screen is too small, but if I could scroll to the right, you would see the target fix version. And what I can do is I can select that firewall and generate a upgrade recommendation. Now it's in my list of upgrades. So I'm requesting or I'm recommending a upgrade to maybe somebody else in my team or somebody from another team that is doing that part. And this is the improvement that I wanted to mention in Strata Cloud Manager. So we have now a upgrade scheduler, meaning you get, of course, your upgrade recommendations that were created on the dashboard, and you're able to take them to the upgrade scheduler, which basically allows you to set certain timeframes. So if I would be able to click in, I could select a certain time and date. I could select the version that I want to go for. You can select a group of firewalls where you, of course, wish to push that OS version that you have selected to. And yeah, at that time in the day or month, it will just automatically install that software for you, even during the night. So you can get some good rest and don't need to stay up to upgrade your firewall. You can also create groups. So those schedules are usually pointing at groups. So you say, I want to upgrade a certain group of firewalls at a certain time. And those groups you basically create on firewall folders. That is, I will get to that. That is the organizational structure within Strata Cloud Manager, or models if you wish to upgrade all your PA-440s, for example, or, and this is the probably most exciting one, labels. So when a firewall joins Strata Cloud Manager, you can assign it one or more labels, and those labels you can then use to upgrade them. So you could make like a label test or dev environment and have a upgrade happening to them first, and a week or so later towards the production ones or to an initial production one that you wish to upgrade. I've just seen there is another question in the chat. Is Strata Cloud Manager able to highlight policies which are overlapping others? The idea would be to avoid duplicate or non-necessary policies. Yes and no. So I will go through that once I am in the security configuration part. I think it's going to let you know if a rule is shadowing something. If you have a big open any allow rule quite much above, you get the normal warning that you already got in Panorama. But I will show you the currently, unfortunately, not so nice looking yet, but I'm sure with one of the next releases, way more improved ones, which is the zero hit objects report. So you do get an insight in your policies if you have a rule that has objects that was never hit, or the whole rule never hit. You will have that in a report, and you will see, basically either that rule gets shadowed by another one, or it's just not accurate for what you'd like to achieve with it. I hope that is clear. Now, starting with Strata Cloud Manager, the first thing that you would do, you would go here and you can create your folder structure. You see it. The Prisma Access always has its own folder. This is very similar to what you would know from the device groups within Panorama. And there you have an all firewalls folder that comes as default as well. And you create your subgroups from there. You can have as many as you like, and you can group those firewalls within that. Of course, it makes sense to keep similar firewalls in similar folders, because it is, as I said, with device groups, you can create a rule on the APAC level, and it would inherit down to your sub firewalls in that folder, and vice versa. So if you do it more above, it goes down even to more places. So you have a very granular, but also very effective way of managing the firewalls from a single rule set, if you wish so. Now, you have created those folders and you are ready to onboard your firewalls. So you would go into the NGFW setup, into device management, and as soon as you have a new firewall appearing, it would show up here. This is similar to what you have with the managed devices in Panorama. You click it, you add it to Cloud Manager, and you would select it here to in which folder it would go. And you also have the possibility to apply the label that I mentioned before, which is then being used to either group those firewalls again in a later stage or to target the upgrades to them. You also here have the overview, as you know it from Panorama probably. You see the serial numbers, you see the software versions, and you see if the licenses are fine compared to its peers. And if you have the config in sync. So the config is still very similar to what you know from Panorama. You do have a candidate config that you push down to the firewall, that it merges with its candidate config and puts that together into a running config that is then running on the firewall. And of course, the system is alerting you if those are out of sync. Now, if we go to the actual configuration bit, and I think that is the most important part, and probably I would expect also the most questions come up or the most unclarities or things where it's also probably the best if you just try it for yourself one time. Let's have a look at a dedicated firewall, or maybe that is easier if I do that in my home lab, because I know the firewall rules here much better. By the way, if you think now, wow, that tenant is running much quicker than the other one, the one that I'm demoing to you is running in the Americas, so probably West Coast USA, and mine here is running in Germany, so much quicker. Also on that part, good thing that I was asked that yesterday, so cloud availability. Right now, the Strata Cloud Manager is unfortunately not available in too many locations, but if you wish to know which ones, you can go to our website that shows the cloud availability, select the Prisma Access Cloud Manager, because it's where it came from. It was the Prisma Access one only, and now it's able to manage firewall as well. And you see the current regions where it is. So mine is in the United States, not more explicitly told where it is. But we have one currently for all the regions, and of course, more regions to follow as usual with our cloud products. Going back into the tenant, this is my tenant here. You can see I have a very basic setup. I don't have Prisma Access. So for me, it's just a folder, a subfolder, because I wanted to, first of all, onboard my second firewall, but I didn't do it. I want to keep Panorama and Strata Cloud Manager in parallel to test out things. So right now I just have my perimeter firewall, and this is basically what it looks like. So that is the normal rule set. This is how you would go to the firewall. You see, there are still pre-rules, so this concept still exists. This is now the all firewall stack that comes first. You can see I didn't configure anything in global, so all firewalls comes first. Then the web security policies. I will get into that in a minute. What's special about that and what this is allowing you to do in a new fancy way. Then you have your local maybe a little bit confusing, not local in terms of locally configured on the firewall without Strata Cloud Manager, but locally in terms of locally here. So not in a folder, but locally on the firewall. You see here my rules that I have created, and you see those things, those brackets here. Those are snippets. They are coming from snippets. So I created an inbound security policy. You can see this is a snippet that is inherited. So those snippets, you map them to folders. This is important to know. So they are mapped to the folders, hence they appear here on my firewall right away as they are part of either the firewall directly or the folder above it. I can show you that in a second. So when you are here, you go to one of the folders, and let's just see here, okay, it's not assigned to here, it comes from the more up, and you see here I have the outbound security policy snippet really being just a piece of configuration. That one is configured here. I mapped it to that folder, and as you would know it from Panorama, from the template stacks, where you're able to change the order, to change what is the importance, which one should override which other template. You do have the possibility of ordering stuff here to give it a weight and to decide what should be higher up, what should be lower up, down. Now, One more thing that is a bit more easy or made easier on this part compared to Panorama is the setup of an HA cluster. I have to go to the US tenant because I only have one firewall. You now have the capabilities within a folder. Of course, a folder contains multiple firewalls or can contain multiple firewalls. You say which one is my primary device. You select the secondary device. And it's a wizard that's leading you through the configuration of those systems. Also, of course, helping you in not, if you ever did it in Panorama, you might, or on firewalls locally even, you are aware that you had always to do the configuration vice versa. Typos were very likely in initial configuration. So that is really here to help you set it up. Of course, it does for you the cross entering. So you enter the stuff for HA1 in device 1, and all this information gets pushed to the secondary device and vice versa. So with that system, you configure your HA one time and it should be good. Also note, this is something that I was mentioning before, comparing to Panorama, you have, for example, one thing that you do not have a feature parity with. You cannot use a data plane interface for your HA configuration at the current moment. So that is a typical thing that I meant. Panorama customers may be absolutely fixed on using a data plane interface for HA. Currently not possible with Strata Cloud Manager. Hence, yeah, not ideal to go for a brownfield customer. But also on that side, that's why I mean for a greenfield customer, it's good. What you can always do, what nobody's going to stop you, and what SCM is also allowing you, is to create local configurations on the firewall directly. So you are able to log on to the firewall and do configurations there. Strata Cloud Manager will not override them. It's not going to push forced template values as you could do in Panorama. So local configurations will or may always survive and not, are not there to be removed, and you can do it if something's not possible as of now with Strata Cloud Manager. That was the HA part. Now I would say it would make probably the most sense to also show you quickly a normal security policy, so a normal firewall policy. And later on in the next part, I will show you the new web security module. So the firewall policy, very similar. You still have pre and post rules, so stuff that should happen before the firewall rule set or after the firewall rule set. If you wish to create a rule directly in the firewall rule set, you can also just jump on the firewall and create it there. And this is the view you basically know from Panorama, a little bit different, a little bit more. We recognize that you have bigger screens now. We show all the configuration in one place, no longer different tabs that you need to click through. Something quite nice, I would say, the logging is per default always enabled. Also on the intra and inter zone default rules per se. You don't need to override them anymore to do anything. That is already there. Of course, you still have your app ID selections. You can still select services or ports. You have the URL category part. All of that kind of unchanged compared to Panorama, probably a little bit better looking and a little bit nicer. And this is what I meant before. So you always have that button here that's giving you a quick insight on how good your rule is. The very same you can, of course, do if you already have a created rule. And you wish to check that one, you can go here and see what is good with the rule, what is not. Always possible. Now,
Michael, a quick question.
Yes,
Is it also possible to use variables, to, let's say, reflect an interface IP if before that, and there was possible, let's say you have different interfaces and you want to push out configuration to those interface names. There was a possibility to use those variables.
Yes. Sure, absolutely. And let me dive into that right away, because that is an excellent question. So yes, variables are, I would say, even way more used than what you're used to in Panorama. You can imagine with us removing the boundaries between the template and device groups a little bit by allowing you to have snippets, having security policies. Of course, this all has to be variabilized, whatever you call it. You have to have all in variables, because that system, that snippet, it's a piece of configuration that's not associated to any firewall. So it doesn't know about any zone, for example. You could, of course, in the snippet, create the zones and put them here. So that way the firewall would get the zones from the snippet, but usually that's not ideal because you have those policy snippets, which only contain a part of the policy. And I'm sure you do not want to define the same zones 10 times. So this is exactly the place where variables come into play. You see it here. For myself, I also had to use it in zones especially. So you have, or I created a variable that's called internal. You see in the bracket, internal, that is the default value, $global protect with the value global protect, meaning if you just take that snippet, put it on a firewall, the values will be propagated with what's in here in the bracket. If you have a firewall that is outside of the standard, let's go quickly here to show you how the mapping is done. So I have here my variable, or I will go to the firewall directly because there are all the variables. And you can see all the variables used. You see here from the inbound security, from the outbound security, I have certain variables used. And I did not have to override them. Of course, it's only one firewall, so they use the template, the default value, but you would be able to override those and to set them to different values if you wish to have then a dedicated policy on a firewall, just using the variables, the same standard rule set everywhere. Yeah.
Cool stuff. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Now, all guys that worked for some time with Panorama, this is something really brand new, and I hope you are open to new stuff and stuff that is really sometimes a little bit difficult or a little bit different, and hence confuses people quite a lot. So we enabled a new module. This is something that you can enable on a per firewall basis or per folder basis, or basically even per firewall, where you can say you want to have the web security part exactly here. So that is just a module. You enable it, you disable it, and it simplifies your configuration for web security policies. What is web security? Web security in our minds, or in that configuration part, is all web traffic 80.443. That is browser-based mostly. So very, very little exceptions. Updaters, for example, are not part of web security. All app IDs that are Microsoft Update that use the same port, for example, but are not really web browsing. This is really just for your users accessing web applications and web services. You know, if you did that in Panorama, it was, of course, doable. You could create a beautiful security policy that would allow you to have different rule sets per user, different file blocking. So you would allow certain file types to be uploaded, downloaded. You could have an exception for certain groups. But let's be honest here, this took a lot of effort. It was a lot of firewall rules. And it was really a ton of configuration. And let's say you configured it all and didn't maybe document it too well, left the company, next guy takes it over, he has to work a few weeks just to get in what you did there if you didn't do it really, really well descriptive. So what that part does, it is an abstract layer to web security, and something that you may have seen with other companies, especially companies that are not firewall vendors, but that are just purely focused on web security. And we try to get a bit more on that side to really get in favor of people that are for now just configuring proxies, for example, that are allowed to, that are used to such a workflow. Let's quickly jump into what it does. So you have a default rule set and you have a custom rule set. The default one is really the basic rule set. What are your users allowed to do? What are they not allowed to do? The custom one allows certain users certain things, or certain things to certain applications. So special use case, custom, basic default policy, the default web access policy. Here you have a global web access policy where you define basically what web applications you want to allow. Whatever is not here is going to the next rule. So it's still a firewall behaving like a very normal firewall. And meaning in this case here, we have explicitly blocked all high-risk applications. So high-risk applications would get blocked by that one. New web applications, so stuff that came new app IDs would explicitly be allowed. And you do have the certain URL categories that you have the list that you add. Of course, you can add your own list, from the URL management part that certain custom lists that you can add here, as well as the allowed URL lists where you have the possibility of allowing certain URLs. So this would be the basic, really foundational setup. I think, yeah, you can enable on an ad hoc basis or on a per category basis if you wish to decrypt or not. Honestly speaking, I wouldn't do it here. It doesn't make a lot of sense. The only thing would maybe be a present the continue page if you have that need. Or file control per se would make sense as well, but this is the wrong place to configure that. I will show you where this can be done. So that is the really basic web access to your users. Then everything that is not configured here, as you know it, we're still firewall. You have a global catch-all policy, and here you can do basically two things. Either allow everything that's not defined or block everything that's not defined. So either you take a block list or an allow list approach. This is the way to switch it over. But what's really great, and what I think is the most value of it, is to create certain special use cases. Let's say you have a security team that you have generally blocked all file downloads from everywhere, but you have a security team that you wish to allow it so that they can download malware samples, stuff like this. So you would absolutely have the possibility to add a user group, take your security team here, put them in place so that you filter it for the right person. You do not want to do any blocked web applications, right? Because we do not explicitly want to block anything for them. The only thing that you may want to do in this place is you go for hacking, because the website is maybe named hacking, and where you had before the file control, generally speaking, to not allow anything for your users, you could now have a download one where you have allow all file types for downloading. If I would hit save, if I would give you the name and everything, this would then create, this is the abstract part that I meant, you have here a completely new interface that's not looking like a firewall rule in the end, but it's creating the firewall rules for you based on what you configure here. Also quite mighty, not now in the security use case, so different use case, you're no longer allowing the security team to just download something, but let's say you wish to enable Google Docs as an example, but you do not want to enable all of Google Docs, right? So you have the possibility to add an application here, select which functions of the application should be working. So let's say you want to allow your users to download and upload things there. That is fine, but you want to have your file controls in place. You want to define what exactly should they be able to up and download. So you really have the possibility to create I would say, quite nice and easy to look at, easy to understand in a later place as well. It tells you right away what it does. It's nice and really cleaned up, and gives you an overview of what you are allowing and what not. Now, of course, I can imagine all the guys that worked in the past with Palo Alto Networks products, and especially with Panorama or the next-gen firewall itself, is, okay, and what does it do in the backend? Unfortunately, now in a nice world where my internet at home would be working, I would be jumping on my firewall and showing it to you in live on what's there. But the good part is it's not really necessary. So what we can do is we have a tab here that is called detailed usage, and that gives you the rules. So you see here transformed rules at last push. So only the global web access, only the really high level things. What it does in the backend is it creates, I think, 4 rules. Yes, 4 different rules that are built really to the purpose to fulfill what you did before. Yes, they are built differently than what you would probably do. You would have your URL filtering profiles, not that they leave stuff to default, which is mostly allowed to block it later on. They have a very special way of doing it, a very interesting way of doing it, but it is to allow you the full flexibility. And maybe I would say, don't look at what it's exactly doing, just try it out. Configure it, try, and it works. You see the logs, it's all great and dandy. You just don't want to go into those rule sets. That rule set is really getting a lot of rules very quickly, as you can imagine, based on the firewalls. This is something I like a lot as well. If you then check the policy out in your firewall, Here it's just one rule. So it's just telling you number 9, web security policy. This is web security policy. It's not going to give you all the details of all the rules, all the contents. It's just one thing, not to mess up your whole configuration, and that you have here a huge screen with rules that you never want to look at. That part so far to the web security module. I would say for customers, the same goes that went before. Greenfield customers, surely a good thing, something to test, to do. For customers that already have URL filtering configured, that already have certain configurations, that maybe have made that complex setup of firewall rules, probably there it's going to be overkill to re-engineer that whole thing. And maybe if they ever want to take the journey, it's something that we can show and we can help with, but I wouldn't force them to do it. And it's also always possible to just leave out that module. So if you turn it off here, you can also turn it off once you have to turn it on. And then this feature will just be disabled and your firewall will behave normally without the web security modules. And just a second, I'm going to take a sip of water. We'll be right back. All right, so the next thing that is new with Strata Cloud Manager, just ask if you have a question. The next thing that is coming with Strata Cloud Manager was so far a part of the features that you would get from the Prisma SD-WAN configuration. So that is an auto VPN. Let me see if the demo environment has a proper setup here. Yeah, at least partial setup. So what you can configure, or what the auto VPN allows you to do, and next small limitation. So for now, it allows you to create a hub and spoke environment, meaning your spokes are able to connect to your hub to the hub that you define, of course. For right now, I think it's in upcoming release as well included, but there is no mesh functionality, so that the hubs, that the branches, the spokes talk to each other. That's not yet there, but that will come very shortly. And this just allows you to have a single plane or a single place where you configure the VPN. So basically, you tell the system which one is my hub, which one are my spokes. And automatically from there, you see here, this is the branch. You tell it which device you want to use, which local router, which virtual router on the system it should use. You define all the branch devices or all the branches that you wish to connect to. Same there, which interface should it use, which router should it use. And from there, it will just connect all those branches back to HQ. And you see here, it's enable SD-WAN. So yes, SD-WAN, the SD-WAN subscription is fully supported with Strata Cloud Manager, but it's no longer required just for the VPN part. Of course, stuff like direct internet access over VPN, these kind of things, that the whole traffic steering based on SD-WAN properties, that is not available if you do not even enable, if you do not have the SD-WAN subscription. But that's one additional use case where at least we do no longer need the subscription to have those auto VPN capabilities for your branch devices. I think that is quite a big improvement. If you think about deploying a new branch, you can just send the firewall there. It enables CTP much easier because you tell the firewall basically in the CTP profile, hey, go to Strata Cloud Manager, get your config from there. It doesn't need to have a Panorama connectivity anymore. You do not need to expose your Panorama to the internet. You do not need to create the initial template to connect home to Panorama. It's in the internet, right? So you can have the firewall put there, it connects to the internet, fetches the config from Strata Cloud Manager, and maybe even starts participating in a auto VPN cluster, meaning it would connect home automatically. And yeah, being there right away without you needing to send any IT guys in those branch locations in a best scenario. Of course, all those systems within Strata Cloud Manager are kind of interconnected. So this is I'm going to show you quickly the log viewer. That is now the Strata data logging service that I showed you before. It's quite similar if you have not worked with it with the Panorama log filter. So you have the capabilities of clicking into a field, and it's going to bring it up here, similar to Panorama. If you click on another one, it's going to show you the and. It's going to add an and condition and add the second part that you added. What I want to show you here as well is, let me hopefully find a log entry. So you still have this details view where a pane opens, where you see all the details of the session, where you find all the flags, all the metrics that could be of interest for you for that explicit session. And if you remember from Panorama, when you entered a log entry, when you clicked on a log entry, you got your details on top, and on the bottom there was another window showing you the logs from the different modules. So if there were thread logs associated with it, if there were any other thread logs, URL logs, wildfire logs associated to that part, to that log entry, it showed you in this small window, and here it does the very same. So you have the capabilities of going to traffic. That's why I took a 4431, and you have the URL log where you can see then what URL was accessed. If there were more than one URL accessed or a different path in the URL, you see the second log entry here. So you have the capabilities of looking at the logs in the same way you did in Panorama. I would say the only thing is it's much quicker. Usually we just loaded 461,000 events. And as I said, this is an US tenant, so don't take the latencies we have here for granted. You will have a better experience in a local tenant. Yeah, so this is basically it, I would say, in terms of Strata Cloud Manager. There is much more things to explore. There is always, that is one more thing I can show. Of course, you do not need to upgrade the system. It's a SaaS offering for our customers and partners. So it is automatically being upgraded, and you do have here a announcements pane where the system is going to send you all the issues as well as the new version. So you see here, we had an issue with admin push, that being if multiple admins change the configuration, you know, from Panorama, you can commit and push only your scope, only what you changed. This didn't work or isn't working still. That's why you see upgrades here or updates to that functionality here. You always get the latest information. You get an ETA when it's going to be fixed. So you see we will fix it before the 16th with the next release. And you can also see for the last release, for example, if something new showed up in our systems, if the new release contains something for you, you do have this this insight here where you see what is there, what is planned next, what is going to change. And yeah, it's going to give you feedback on what's going on what's coming new and what you can do. Yeah, or if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. I think we went through a very quick rundown of the whole system. Of course, I'm not capable of showing you all its features within that short amount of time, but more than happy to explore deep dives and whatnot.
Michael, maybe you can show the policy hiding stuff and basically, you know, the shadowing. You mentioned that quickly. Do you have something to show?
Yeah, that's the one that I mentioned is not too nicely looking, unfortunately, for now.
Yeah,
so
okay.
The capabilities are here. You see it here. There is a cleanup. So it tells you have 4 zero-hit objects. I didn't manage to get what those 4 objects are yet. So that's what I meant. So they are really enhancing a lot. Stuff is coming. They're putting in new features. So you see it's that they're working on it, and there is also I think that is for Panorama, that policy optimizer. Try policy optimizer. You see it's in early access for now, so it will come shortly. It is there. They're working on it. And that's what my machine again. I will go into the demo tenant really quickly because I could imagine that one does already have it. I am in my tenant. Here I went out of Strata Cloud Manager. But this is coming. So those are all features that we know for sure. And yes, also, before you ask, yes, the main other critical thing that we are still missing is global search. So there is, for now, where did I go? There is no global search as of now. So you do not have the capabilities of finding something everywhere that it's used and have this really great feature from Panorama. This unfortunately is not yet there. And I see just here in the demo environment also does not have that populated as of now. But this is something, yeah, as I said, work is ongoing. Stuff like this is of course prioritized and will come as soon as possible to the system.
Perfect, thank you. I
You're
think
welcome.
so far there are no other questions. Feel free to ask questions. Please use the F&A panel from Zoom to ask a question because you're all muted.
Maybe just to fill the time if there's no question right now. What's also a cool thing, and this will help you in the future as well, of course, with the policy optimizer, but this is the, not sure if you have heard of it, that's in AIOps as well, but where you do the mapping of your zones, where you basically tell it, okay, those those are my zones. I have high level zones, so DMZ or internet or these things are groupings. You assign your specific zones to those groups of zones. And while you are traversing zones, you can tell it which protections you wish to have in place. For example, if from internal to the internet, you wish to always have advanced URL filtering, this is going to be checked against your rule set. You now have the possibility to modify what it checks against your rule set and explicitly in what zone traversals, what zone you go from to, what there should be enabled from a security standpoint. So what protections should be enabled, and based on that, you get then a really tailored and accurate feedback to your security policy if you ever miss to configure a certain profile or a certain group for a zone traversal. Just to show you that AIOps premium feature that is included as well here. I think we did not get any other questions, Rolf.
Yes, that's true. No further questions. So I think we can make now a quick break, maybe 15 minutes. So yeah, thank you very much, Michael, for the great presentation. It was very impressive. A lot of new stuff is coming, and that's good. You know, I like the progress on you know, and then the features that are planned and they're already there in Strata Cloud Manager. And as you said, I mean, it's another opportunity for customers that want to start with a cloud console. Just give it a try. I know we all know it's not perfect yet, but I think you know you have to familiarize with the interface, and yeah, maybe use your NFR kit at home or in the office to do some first. To get some first experience, and then you're prepared for customer projects. Again, thank you very much, Michael, for your time. I would say 15 minutes from now. So if you can be back 5 minutes before 10 past, that would be nice. So 10:25, we will continue with the session.
Donc on va prendre une pause de 15 minutes. On se retrouve à 10h25 pour la suite avec Sylvia. Merci à tous et dans 15 minutes.
Thank you very much. See you.
Okay, so it's 10:25. I hope all of you grabbed a fresh coffee like we do. At least I did. You too, Rolf?
Yeah.
Perfect. Great. Okay. So yeah, I would say we are going to continue to the next topic within our morning session. Let me share my screen. So what's next? As you might know, a few weeks ago, I think 4 weeks, something like this, Palo Alto Network has released the new PAN-OS version 11.1. And as always, there are new features. And I would like just to introduce those new features to you. So let's see what we can expect with the next version, PanoS 11.1, which is called Cosmos as well. So as I'm sure you know, the majority of new features will always be introduced in the major version, in the 0.0 version, like 11.0 or 10.0. So typically there we will have most of the new features. Even though, as you can see here, we have a lot of new features in 11.1 also. So yeah, now we are going to walk through all of those new features, right? No, of course not. That would be too time consuming. My idea is just to I just want to present only the very, very interesting features we will have in 11.1, and of course those features where most of you or many of you will get in touch on a daily basis, because it belongs to common features all of you are using. So any changes here I want to present as well. So let's start. So let's start with some new management features. So first of all, what has been improved is the config audit feature. You know this feature already. This is a screenshot from an 11.0 or an earlier version. If we make changes to our configuration, we can compare those changes to we can compare different config versions with this config audit feature. Unfortunately, comparing those features is a little bit difficult to read, because what we are doing is we are comparing the XML config file, so the XML format. And of course, we do see the changes, and we do see a little bit of the contents on the context, so some lines before or some lines after the change. But depending on your configuration, you do not see the real context. So, I mean, we understand that this is an object with a name called Boll, WF something, but we do not know what this is. Is this a AV profile, or is this an anti-spyware profile? So you really have to see that this is a wildfire profile, but most of us don't see this. So it's a little bit complicated to read. And what have changed in 11.1, I want to show this live on one of my devices. So I'm on one of our lab devices and go to the device and now to the config audit. What has changed? You will see it on the first glance here. So first of all, we see all the different versions which are on our hard disk on the management plane. And we will see already here the number of different changes. So by the way, you can pretty clearly see when we did the update to 11.1, because all the configurations before 11.1 do not have this feature. Of course, we didn't have it there. So the new feature applies to configurations made with 11.1. So what we can here already see is the number of added objects, of removed objects, and the one we have edited, we have changed. But this is not the only thing. So what we can do right here as before is we can compare two different versions, like, for example, those two, and click on compare. And as before, we can see the XML diff that is still there. But additionally, we have a change summary here. And here we can see in a very readable form what has changed, that there's a security rule which has changed, a rule with the name internet access which has changed, and we see if it has been cloned, if it has been edited, if it has been just renamed, or maybe no, there's no rule we have deleted. But you can see on a first glance, on one glance, what has changed, which kind of object, when it has been changed, who has changed it. If you have been on holidays for 1 week and you want to see what has changed by your colleagues in the time in between, you can see it just by having a look who has changed what object. And if you click on one object, like this one here, you will directly see the changes which has been done between the two configurations. So this is a little bit more readable. And I think this might be very helpful to see on a first glance what has changed between two configs without having a look at the XML config itself. So this is something that would help. It's not a big feature, of course not, but I think this will help to have an overview as an administrator to your config, or especially if one of your customers is changing the config, you can directly see at a glance what has changed, so you are up to date. Okay, this is one of the new management feature we have in 11.1, and there's another one which is called the tag browser. I'm pretty sure you already know the policy optimizer you can find on all of your policies, security policy, for example. You have this policy optimizer, and at the same place, we now have additionally this tag browser. So what is this tag browser doing? So we already know the tags. We already know that you can add tags to different policy rules, and you can filter here for different tags to have a look only at specific rules. And this function has been improved with the tag browser. So let's make an example. Let's go to our policies here. I have, hello? Yes, I have just a small policy. So normally you know this at the customer, you have policies with more than 100 or maybe 1,000 rules, something like this. And then it's really difficult to have an overview of all of your rules, or maybe you just want to see all the rules which belongs to the mail server, which might not be at the same place, all of them. Depends on your order. So what you can do right now is I want to filter by all tags. You just can click on the tag you're interested in, and then it's filtered automatically. Maybe you're just interested in the mail server rules, or maybe in the mail server and web server rules as well, and they are just filtered. And now you can go ahead and add and start to edit those rules. So you can move rules. Of course, the order is keeping the same. You can add new rules and so on. So this makes it a little bit easier to have a look on the sections. So of course, we do not have sections in our policies, but you can create some ad hoc sections with this feature. And I think this is very, very helpful, especially if you have large policies, and I'm pretty sure most of you have large policies, especially when we talk about the security policy. This is really helpful to just to not get confused, to keeping the right order of the rules and so on. So this makes working with a policy much easier. Okay, so these are two features I think most of you, if you are configuring firewalls, most of you will find pretty helpful. At least I did, so I hope you too. Okay, good. That has been two management features for managing, configuring the firewalls. But there are some new technical features. Yes, let's talk about the next one. IPv6. I'm not sure. Maybe we can do a little activity by you. Can you please use the Zoom tool, raise hands if you're already in touch with IPv6 and firewall configuration? So who of you is already in touch with IPv6? 1, 2, only 2, 3. Okay, someone else. So it's only the minority of the of you guys out there using. Thank you for raising your hand. Who is using IPv6? But it's already more than we have seen last time. So I think IPv6 is getting more and more common. So therefore, I'm pretty happy that we have two new IPv6 feature in 11.1. IPv6 is, of course, already supported in PAN-OS for a long time. But to be honest, we do not have feature parity with IPv6. So something which has been missed, at least for me, is the IPv6 feature for PPPoE. So if you have a small device, a really small device connecting to the internet, maybe with Swisscom or somebody else, they are using PPPoE and they start to use PPPoE over IPv6. So you need to support PPPoE with IPv6, and this is something we have with 11.1. This is one of the new features that you can configure, of course, in a dual stack, the IPv6 on your data plane interfaces, and choose here not only that you're using IPv6. Of course, I had to check this check mark here, but that you are requesting an IPv6 address dynamically via PPPoE. So this is one of the new features which might help in future for connecting to the internet, especially in the small offices. Another new feature, which is not that important, at least I think so, but you know better for your environment. IPv6 is supported on the management interface, which is not new, but up to now we just support the static IPv6, or we just support static IPv6 addresses on the management interface. New is that you can receive a dynamic IPv6 address also on your management interface. Yes, so that are the two new features for IPv6. I think we are getting closer to feature parity with IPv4. Let's see. Okay, if you have any question, by the way, just use the question and answer tool. Okay. So now let's talk about TLS 1.3. We see new features for TLS 1.3, which is getting more and more important, I think. So on the Palo firewall, TLS 1.3 is not new. I think it starts with 10.0, I think, where TLS 1.3 was introduced, but only for decryption. Of course, this is one of the most important things. As if we are using decryption policies, if we want to decrypt SSL or TLS traffic, we need those decryption policies, and the decryption policies were able to decrypt TLS, or they tried. They was not able to decrypt all of it, but at least some of it, to decrypt TLS 1.3. So this has already been supported, but what was not supported, or what was not supported up to now, is TLS 1.3 for local traffic, which means traffic that is terminated on the firewall directly, like e.g. Global Protect. If you have a connection to your Global Protect portal or to your Global Protect gateway, this is TLS with max 1.2, not 1.3. And this is going to be changed now in 11.1. So the change we see in 11.1 is that you can configure your TLS, SSL, TLS service profiles, which previously was only able to support maximum 1.2. Now with, this is a screenshot from 11.1, we support the max version 1.3 as well. So this is the first change. The second change is that you can directly in the TLS service profile choose which algorithm for encryption, for authentication, for key exchange you want to use for the traffic where this service profile applies. So the second part here, choosing the algorithm, to be honest, this is not new, but it's new that you can configure this in the web UI. Before 11.1, you had to configure this in the CLI. So now you can directly, it's much more handsome, you can directly choose the algorithms here in the web UI as well. So what is going to change if you upgrade the TLS version, which might be configured to maximum version max, this will be upgraded to the version 1.2 with 11.1. So if you have already configured service profiles, and of course you had, if you have the max version 1.2 max here, chosen max, that will be upgraded to 1.2 in the new version after the upgrade. Okay, so now TLS 1.3 is supported, but, and this is important, it's not supported for all of the PAN-OS feature where we are using the SSL TLS profiles. It's just supported for management and global protect. Management, where you access the firewall directly with the web UI, you can now choose 1.3 and global protect as well. But it's not supported for the other features where we are using the TLS service profiles as well. So, for example, the secure communication, which you can configure, where you can configure which TLS version you want to use between the Palo Alto firewall and Panorama, for example. Or if you communicate to the cloud, if your Palo firewall is communicating to the cloud, which TLS version is used there. So this is not supported with TLS 1.3 yet. Also for the authentication portal, the URL admin override, and the syslog listener. Yes, so how is this working? This is working. This is solved pretty smart, I think, from Palo Alto Network. So let's make an example. Let's say you have configured two different TLS profiles here. One of this is related to 1.3, the other one is not. So now if you're going to configure your authentication portal, where we already learned 1.3 is not supported, if you choose the TLS service profile here, you only get the list of those profiles which does not belong in some way to 1.3. So you just get the list of the supported profiles, but not the one that are not supported. Yeah, there's a good questions, by the way, from Frank. Yeah, that is a problem. Is there any new feature of blocking around encrypted SNI and the encrypted client hello? The encrypted SNI and encrypted client hello are add-ons you can use in TLS 1.3, which is encrypting the SNI. And encrypting the SNI is a problem because we want to use the SNI, for example, for URL filtering and so on. So we want to see, is the client requesting a specific URL when he starts the TLS communication? As far as I know, Frank, unfortunately not. So if SNI is used, I'm not aware of any changes, at least like this. I have to double check, but I'm not aware of this one. Okay. Yeah, I will come back later to the different algorithms, but okay. Yes, so just be aware that TLS 1.3 is supported, but not for all of those features here. For management, and you can see it a little bit more closely here. So to be honest, if you're configuring your management, starting with 11.0, you already were able to use TLS 1.3, but you were not able to configure 1.3 here in the TLS service profile. For using TLS 1.3, you got a new configuration possibility here, the management TLS mode, which includes TLS 1.3 also. So this was a little bit creepy that you were able to configure the TLS version in two different fields here. So with 11.1, this has been consolidated because this was a little, yeah, it was a mess to configure the version with 11.0. With 11.1, PAN-OS 11.1, we were able to configure all of this just in this TLS service profile where you can define which versions, maybe TLS 1.3 you want to use. Okay, this is for the administrative access. And also we support TLS 1.3 for the Global Protect. Here's pretty easy. You just can choose for the Global Protect portal or the Global Protect gateway a TLS service profile where 1.3 is allowed. That's all. So this is pretty easy to configure this. But just to mention this, if you want to use TLS 1.3 for Global Protect, of course, you have to make sure that you are using a proper service profile here, but you also have to make sure that the client, the global protect client, is capable of 1.3 as well. So if you're using an older global protect client version, there's no support for 1.3. So make sure that the global protect client is supporting 1.3 as well, and also the your operating system, because, for example, Windows 10 does not support TLS 1.3 by default. You have to enable this manually, and I think this is some creepy registry keys you have to use to enable TLS 1.3 on Windows 11, on Windows 10, I'm sorry. On Windows 11, I think it's enabled by default, TLS 1.3. Not all of the possible algorithms. I think the Poly-Chacha algorithm is not supported with Windows 11, but the other ones. Okay, so some new features here. And now we are getting to one of my, not the best one, because it's not the best one because I did not really understand it up to now, but a very, very interesting new feature. The new feature belongs to the advanced wildfire configuration, and it's called Advanced Wildfire Inline Cloud Analysis. So where are we right now? So right now, we are of course able to detect known malware and known variants with our AV virus signatures. Of course, we already are able to detect unknown variants with the inline machine learning feature on the next generation firewall, which means that some models, ML models developed in the cloud, can be downloaded to the firewall itself and can be used there especially to detect unknown variants from known malware. But what we cannot do right now on the device, on the firewall directly, is to detect zero-day malware. You know, if there's a new file where we do not detect any known signatures, what we can do is using the wildfire feature. But this is not, up to now, this is not inline anymore, which means this is some kind out of band communication. So if a user is downloading a file, this file is searched for known signatures, and then it's downloaded to the client. Anyway, the firewall do the upload to the wildfire cloud. And in the wildfire cloud, this file is sent to a sandbox to be analyzed more deeper and deeper. But this sandboxing, this takes some time. And the result is that the verdict, if this file is malware or if it's not malware, if it's benign, this will take some time. This can take 30 seconds, but this can take also 3 minutes. And so you will get the verdict later on. The client might have already downloaded the malware. Of course, you will be informed that there is malware, that's better than nothing, but maybe the client has already opened this file. So the new feature in 11.1 is the inline cloud analysis. Of course, in the cloud, we have much more possibility for doing sandboxing and so on. And having this feature now inline, or at least some kind of analysis inline, makes it much more secure, because now we will get the verdict during the download or until the download has not finished. So the firewall is able to stop the malware file once the inline cloud analysis says, oh, this is not good, this is malware. So the client does not get the whole file with this feature. So even though it's an unknown malware file, one we didn't know of before, we can detect it more or less in real time. And this is something really crazy. How are they doing this? And it takes me very, very long to understand how this is working. And I have to admit, I still did not really understand it. I need to decrypt the traffic if I'm able to do this. But it's really nice. So what I did is doing some discovery on how this is working. And before I start with this, I just want to show you how to configure this new feature, because it's really crazy. It's so easy to configure this. So what you're going to do is two things, or at least one thing. Maybe you're already using your wildfire analysis profile where you said, okay, with the rules here, I want to configure, or I want to send specific files which the users are downloading to the wildfire cloud. But this is the out-of-band communication. Now, the new feature is this new tab, the inline cloud analysis. Then here you can say, okay, I want to send all files, no matter if I'm downloading or uploading them, to the inline cloud analysis. Not unfortunately, but right now I'm just able to use the PE file type, no other file types now, but this are the most dangerous one, of course. So it's a simple rule which is using the where you can involve this inline cloud analysis. There's another configuration which is related to this inline cloud analysis, and you will set it, configure this one with device setup and then content ID, where you configure all the content ID stuff. And here you will have a latency, a maximum latency. It's milliseconds. So right now, by default, you have 30 seconds here, which means if this inline verdict is not received by the firewall within 30 seconds, then the download is continuing. So we do not want the client to wait more, because we have to wait for this inline cloud analysis. It's not really real time. It take a few seconds, 1 second, 2 seconds, maybe sometimes a little bit longer. But we do not want the client to wait indefinitely. So that's why we have a maximum latency. We can configure it's 30 seconds. Maybe you want to decrease it a little bit, so that the first priority is that the user is not waiting too long. So if we are reaching this maximum latency, of course, it's possible that the client has downloaded a malware file. Yes, so like the old behavior we had before. So now, how is this working? I really do not understand it to the details, but what I can show you is just a second. What I can show you is what I detected up to now. So what is happening is the firewall has this dynamic update, and you can configure the wildfire. Previously, you were able to schedule the download of new signatures coming from the wildfire, or new hash files coming from the wildfire every 5 minutes or every 5 seconds. But now you will have a schedule which is called real time. Real time means that there's an ongoing session from your firewall to the wildfire cloud, one session which keeps open a very, very long time, so which is open all the time. And here you will have updates every few seconds. So if you're starting a packet capturer on this traffic, on this session, you will see that there's a communication between your firewall and the wildfire cloud every few seconds to get some new signature hashes, file hashes, and so on. And this is happening exactly every 6 seconds. When you're using this new feature here and you're doing a download, then you will see an additional communication during the download. And as far as I understand this is the inline cloud analysis check, which is running exactly when you're downloading the file. Most of the file has been downloaded, and then this communication will happen, and you will get a verdict, and then the firewall can decide if the firewall wants to continue the download to the client. To be honest, I'm not sure if I didn't see that the whole file is sent to the wildfire cloud. It's something different. But as all of this is encrypted, I cannot give you any details, but it's really, really fascinating that this is working, that we have an inline cloud analysis right now. Sorry. Okay. So this is a big advantage in security, I think. If you not only have the wildfire feature out of band, but also in band, in line within the session, so that the session which is downloading the malware can be terminated if this feature is learning that the downloaded file is malware. Okay, so this is one of my favorite feature in 11.1. And yeah, let's see what kind of experiences we are going to make with this feature. Okay, so next one, my last feature, and this is the one I'm interested in personally most of the new features. Quantum computer, post-quantum cryptography. So let's make this game with a hand raising again, because I'm really interested in who of you already thought about this problem with the quantum computer we have. Is there anyone where this is already important? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Okay, some of you. Okay, so yeah, it sounds a little bit crazy. Why should we already think about those quantum computers, as we already know that, yeah, there are some quantum computer, but they are not really working for the most important things. That's correct. So let's start with a small introduction about quantum computers. So those quantum computers, they are really creepy. They are really strange. Those quantum computers, as the name already says, they are not working with normal bits like we do with our normal computer, like having a bit which can be 0 or which can be 1. Quantum computers are working with qubits, so some kinds of quantums which takes the role of a normal bit we know. But those qubits, they have very, very special characteristics. And one characteristic I'm talking about is the superposition. So a qubit can have several states at the same time. So a bit, a normal bit we know can be 0 or 1, but not 0 and 1 at the same time. But qubits can do this. So they can have several states at the same time. And only when you are measuring, when you are looking, hey, qubit, what is your state? In this moment, the qubit falls back to one specific state. This makes it a little bit difficult to get the results of some calculations you're doing with the with the quantum computer. So this is the first feature which is really special about a qubit, and the second one is more strange. It's like some esoteric stuff. It's really strange. It's called the entanglement. So it's possible, or two qubits, two quantum particle can be entangled, which means that the state of one quantum is changing the state of the other one. So that when one qubit is measured and this qubit has a spin up, so this is one of the states a qubit can have, spin up, then the entangled second qubit automatically has the state spin down. If the first one has the spin down, then the other one has the spin up. So they are always opposite. But the strange thing is that the qubits can be located wherever they want. So no, not wherever they want, but no matter where the two entangled quantums are located, this relation will belong. So even one quantum is 100 kilometers away from the other one, if they are entangled, their states are always be different, so the opposite one. And that is the strange thing. Up to now, nobody can explain how this is possible. All the physics out there, they do not understand how this is working. So Albert Einstein some years ago says, okay, the fastest information transfer is with the speed of the light. they cannot be any faster, but the qubits are changing faster. So this is the really strange thing, and such things are really fascinating me. But okay, this has nothing to do with our Palo firewall, but why are we talking about this? So quantum computers are already existing, but the problem we are talking about right here is settled by a guy called Shaw some years ago, 1994. He was able to prove with a theoretical algorithm that a quantum computer, once it exists, will solve the factoring problem and the discrete logarithm problem. So these are two algorithms which we are already using, especially with certificates. If we create a key pair, we are using the factoring. And for IPsec key negotiations, Diffie-Hellman is using the discrete logarithm. And the nice thing up to now is that those algorithms can be used, but they cannot be cracked. So calculating it in the other direction. So once the Diffie-Hellman algorithm is calculated, nobody can, or you can try to hack it, but it will take you 1 million or billion of years. So it's not possible to do it in a feasible time. A quantum computer is theoretically able to do this. And this means if we have a quantum computer, all of your certificates are vulnerable. All of your IKE key negotiations, especially with IKE v2, are vulnerable. You can crack those algorithms so somebody can find your private key of your certificate, or the key which is not negotiated by IPsec with a quantum computer. So those algorithms that can be cracked with, or they cannot be cracked, they can be cracked in a feasible time. That's the problem. So those algorithms, they are called non-resistant algorithms. So non-resistant related to a quantum computer. It's funny that only the asymmetric algorithms are vulnerable against those quantum computers. The symmetric algorithms like AES or DES, of course you're not using it anymore, AES for example, they are considered to be resistant. The only problem here is that with the quantum computer, we cannot find better algorithm to be much faster, but those quantum computers, they have sheer computing power, and they can do the brute force attack on a symmetric algorithm much faster. Much faster means, so it's said, Groover, a guy called Groover has calculated this, that a quantum computer is able, for example, to do a brute force on an AES 128 in the same time a normal computer right now can brute force an AES 64, which has the half of the key length. So a quantum computer is much faster, but not so fast that everything can be cracked within half an hour. So a quantum computer is able to do a brute force with the half of the key length. At the same time, a normal computer can do this at a half of the key length. So what does it mean? AES 256 can be cracked by a supercomputer, by a quantum computer. At the same time, we are doing a brute force on an AES 128. And this is good because right now, nobody can crack a symmetric algorithm with 128. So a supercomputer, a quantum computer is not able to crack an algorithm with 256, which means all of you at least should use symmetric algorithms with key length 25.6 or longer. So this is just something we can do right now. Okay, but anyway, a quantum computer that is able to crack IQv2 or the factoring problem on your certificates, this one does not exist yet. At least we do not know about this. We have quantum computer. I think the largest one we know about is has qubits with 430. They have 430 qubits, and for doing the factoring problem, we need a quantum computer with, let's say, 2,000 or 3,000 qubits. They do not know exactly right now because it's all theoretical stuff right now. But if we have such a quantum computer, then our algorithms we are using right now are under attack. But what is the problem until then? There's already an attack running, at least they say it is running, and this attack is called harvest now, decrypt later. So what parties or organizations can do right now is saving or storing your encrypted data that you're sending over the internet right now. And this is saved or stored in some large data centers. And once in the future, once we have such a quantum computer, they can decrypt the traffic you have sent some time ago. So if you're sending some stuff and you want to keep the stuff secure over many years, then make sure that you're only using quantum resistant algorithms right now. And those quantum resistant algorithms, this is what we are calling post-quantum cryptography. Post-quantum cryptography is talking about algorithms which we can use right now, which cannot be hacked by quantum computers in the future when they will exist. At least we do not know if they can do this, or we assume that they cannot do this. So just for some more information, quantum computer already exist. If you go to AWS, there's a site where you can request free access for 1 hour per month on some different quantum computers, like the one from Rigetti, which has 40 qubits right now. So this is not big, but at least we can get some experiences with this if you want to do this. But luckily, we do not have those large quantum computers for cracking our cryptography we are using on the firewalls, for example. Anyway, the NIST, the NIST, already started a few years ago a competition, like always, to create some new standards. And the new competition is talking about quantum resistant algorithms. So they are already talking about this. And last year, the first round of winners has already been revealed. So there are already new algorithms, which at least they think they are quantum resistant. So right now we are in the 4th round where those algorithms are publicly reviewed. And it's planned to reveal the standards next year. So next year, 24, the NIST will reveal the new algorithm, so the predecessors of the AES, which are going to be quantum resistant. So those algorithms already exist and they are already open source. So this is one of the requirements of the NIST, that the new standard, of course, needs to be open source. So you can already go to GitHub and download some libraries with these algorithms. And I'm pretty sure once they reveal the standards, then Palo Alto Networks and all the other vendors will adopt those algorithms in their firewalls, in their operating systems, and so on. So, but up to then, what can we do up to then? One thing is, if you're using symmetric algorithms, as said before, use the one with the large key length, because a supercomputer is not able to do a brute force in a reasonable time. So please use 256-bit at least. If you're using certificates, please use key length 4K and larger. TLS 1.3 with PFS enabled, with a PFS algorithm, is said to be quantum resistant. And this is a fun factor for the whole stuff. This is really crazy. If you're using IPsec VPNs with IQv1 by the way, IKV1 has been deprecated already. If you're still using IKV1 with a pre-shared key, which is long enough, let's say 22 characters and longer, this is quantum resistant. This is really nice that an old algorithm is quantum resistant, but IKV2 is not. The reason for this is that the negotiation of IKV2 took much more communication steps, which is done on IKV2, on IKV1 take more communication steps, and in IKV2 it's much faster. Unfortunately, because it's faster, it's not quantum resistant. Because in IKV2 the pre-shared key is used as some kind of seed for the Diffie-Hellman negotiation. And this is something which makes the algorithm quantum resistant. So that means IKV2 is not quantum resistance for the Diffie-Hellman, for the key negotiation. But there's a new RFC, and now finally we will get back to our Pano S 11.1. Sorry for this long introduction, but I just wanted to explain this. There's a new RFC 8784, which is an add-on for the IKV2 protocol, which makes the key negotiation quantum resistant. And this is working in the same way like IKV1 is already working. So we have a specific here in this RFC, we have a specific post-quantum pre-shared key, a PPK, which is used as a seed for the key negotiation, which makes it quantum resistant. So if you're creating an IKE gateway on your firewall with Pano S 11.1 and you're using IKV2, then you will have in the advanced option a new tab, the post-quantum PPK, where you can create additional pre-shared key for making the key negotiation quantum resistant. So how do you configure this? It's not that complicated. You can say if you want to use this PPK as a preferred way. So if the other side does not have a PPK configured, you just can drop this quantum resistancy, or you can say you want to use this mandatory. So if the other side is not using the PPKs, you cannot build up a VPN in this case. So you can configure one PPK or more. Each PPK is getting a unique identifier. And just to mention this, the other side needs to have the same PPKs, which the same IDs. So the same stuff needs to be configured on the remote side of your IPsec VPN. And then you can go ahead. So the algorithm works like this, that the firewall is the initiator of the VPN is choosing one of the PPKs, using the key ID to tell the other side which PPK is used, and then they start the negotiation with this PPK. So pretty nice, but the problem, so this is the solution right now we have for making IKV2 quantum resistant. The problem, in my opinion, is the other side needs exactly the same PPK. So how to communicate this PPK to the other side? And this should be a very long, at least 32 characters, a very long pre-shared key with special characters and so on. So one way to communicate this, at least for Palo Alto network firewalls, is using Panorama, of course. But there's one obstacle here. As I said in the beginning, the communication between the firewall and Panorama is TLS 1.2 maximum, and 1.2 is not quantum resistant. So we still have an issue here if you want to be complete quantum resistant with your IPsec. So you have to find another way to share those pre-shared key in a secure manner. Okay, but at least we are supporting this RFC standard with 11.1. So if you have to take care about quantum resistancy, yeah, you can use this feature. And it's not only here where you can use a feature. There's another problem related to this quantum resistant algorithm. So as I said, those new algorithms, which will be revealed next year as a new standard, they already exist. and they are open source. You can download this on GitHub. So there are already web browsers and web servers using those new quantum resistant algorithms. Unfortunately, on the Palo firewall, we cannot decrypt these algorithms. So if you're using a TLS connection with these algorithms, your decryption rule is not able to decrypt them. So the only thing we can do, we can detect them. We cannot decrypt them, but at least we can detect them with 11.1. So if there's TLS communication with one of those new algorithms, we will detect them as an unsupported cipher suite. So you are able to block, at least block them if you are using a decryption rule, or if you're using a no decryption rule, at least you can detect them and write a log entry. Hello, somebody is using the Falcon algorithm on the TLS, something like this. So this is something we cannot do. We cannot decrypt them, but at least we can detect them and we can get information about who is using those algorithms, as long as we cannot decrypt them. Okay, so this will be the end of my session. Sorry for talking almost 1 hour. I hope it was not too boring. There's one question, let me check. Will Palo enable, oh sorry, I didn't see this before, enable NAT traversal for Global Protect and IKE mode one day? It is technically possible, of course, but I do not know. We have to ask Palo for this. I do not have any information, but I will keep taking care, Frank. Sorry, I'll just make some notes. I will keep care of this question and try to get some information. Yeah, let me make a screenshot. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I cannot answer this. This would be really nice to have NAT traversal. But Frank, I will get in touch with you directly to get more information on this. What kind of communication especially you mean? Yeah. Okay, I'm not sure about this. But I will get in touch with you, Frank. Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, to any new features. Okay, so hopefully I can give you some information about something which is interesting, and maybe, yeah, there's something which will help. If there are no questions, I will stop my presentation, and I think I will hand over to Pierre-Louis again, because he has some more really nice information about some more new hardware models. Pierre-Louis, you are invisible now. There you are. Perfect.
I was hidden.
Okay.
Thank you, Sylvia. And
Welcome.
pour tous les participants, il y a une première étape, ça va être un questionnaire sur la présentation que Sylvia a faite. Donc, j'espère que vous avez bien suivi. Non, plus sérieusement, je vais parler de la partie hardware. Je vais partager ma présentation. Let me know if you see my screen.
Yes, we will see yours. At least I see your screen.
OK. Good. Donc là, je vais la faire en français. Ce sera plus simple pour moi et pour tout le monde. Alors moi, je vais parler de la partie hardware. Donc Palo, ils ont annoncé des nouveaux boîtiers. Donc ça va du très haut de gamme, très haut niveau, à des modèles un peu plus accessibles pour le commun des mortels. Mais volontiers, on vous aide pour des commandes ou des questions sur n'importe quel de ces modèles. Alors le premier, donc c'est un modèle très haut de gamme, très haut niveau. Donc là, c'est la suite de la gamme 7000. Donc si vous en vendez des palettes, ce sera avec plaisir que je viendrai vous offrir des bouteilles de champagne. Donc voilà, c'est un modèle qui est vraiment très basé sur les performances, donc pour les environnements qui demandent beaucoup de puissance, donc plutôt type FAI, donc fournisseur d'accès 5G, etc. Également gros data center, donc la gamme 7005, Donc là, on est sur un nouveau matériel de 5e génération. Donc c'est avec 14 U et 9 slots dans lesquels on peut enchasser des cartes. Donc là, on parle de performance de 1,5 terabits par seconde. Donc en API, donc on est vraiment sur des gros débits avec des capacités en très performance de 1,4 en mode prevention. Donc, encore une fois, on est sur des nouveaux ASIC, donc les nouveaux FE400, et on supporte des interfaces de 400 Go. Donc, c'est pas quelque chose qu'on va avoir chez tous les clients. Donc, il faut avoir quand même un petit budget, puis surtout l'infrastructure derrière qui le nécessite. Autre point, c'est ce modèle, il supporte la version PAN-OS à partir de la 11.1. Donc voilà, toutes les features, notamment celles que Sylvia a présentées, seront supportées par ce hardware. Donc ensuite, on a un modèle un peu plus accessible. Donc c'est un 5e membre dans la gamme des 5004, donc le 5445. Donc là, qui vient par-dessus à rajouter des performances supplémentaires par rapport au 5440 précédemment. Donc typiquement, le 5440, il offrait 72 Go en API et 52 en stream performance. Et là, on passe sur du 90 Go en API et 72 en stream performance. Donc on voit quand même qu'on a déjà de quoi faire avec cette machine. Et sachant que la capacité de gestion des sessions est plus que doublée. Sinon, le reste des caractéristiques restent semblables au reste de la gamme. Donc, même form factor en 2U, même nombre d'interfaces, etc. Également, donc là encore, sur un modèle encore plus accessible. Donc là, c'est pour les environnements plutôt type industriel. Donc, un nouvel 450R, donc durci. Donc, qui lui amène 3 Go 2 de performance en API et 1,4 en thread prevention. Donc là, on est sur 6 ports RJ45. Donc, ce qui va être intéressant, c'est le successeur du 220R. Donc, Palo continue avec le port combo. Donc, il va avoir 2 ports jumelés SFP RJ45. Donc, c'est l'un ou l'autre. On ne peut pas avoir les 4 ports actifs en même temps. Et un port de management dédié. Également, donc, il y a la présence de 2 ports fade to wire. Donc, en cas de problème électrique, donc on bascule, c'est en mode, ça devient un fil. Donc voilà, c'est un modèle durci, donc pas de ventilateur dedans et supporte des températures un peu plus extrêmes que les modèles normaux. Sinon, donc, autre modèle, donc le 455, donc qui lui, en fait, vient aussi compléter la gamme, donc toujours avec le même form factor, avec la possibilité d'avoir un kit de rack dans lequel on pourra le mettre dedans pour être compatible sur des racks 19 pouces. Toujours pas de ventilateur. Et cette fois, on va avoir 4 ports PoE, donc de 5 à 8, avec un budget total de 91 watts. Donc, chaque port peut délivrer jusqu'à 60 watts, mais bon, avec 91 watts, on va pas pouvoir mettre la... Non, celui-là n'est pas durci. Je vois la question en direct. Donc, celui-là n'est pas durci. Il a le même design, mais il n'est pas durci. Sinon, il aurait le tiret R. Donc, c'est comme ça qu'on repère les équipements durcis chez Palo. Donc, ils ont la mention R pour Rolled, même si il a la même tête. Dessus, sur celui-là aussi, on peut avoir une double alim. Donc, si vous avez d'autres questions, n'hésitez pas, j'essaierai d'y répondre en direct si je peux. Et toujours les ports combo. Un autre modèle, donc là, c'est le premier de la gamme de la gamme des PA-400 à supporter la connectivité 5G, donc via une nano SIM, dual nano SIM, avec la possibilité de faire de la bascule automatique en cas de perte du signal, avec également la possibilité de pouvoir dire est-ce qu'on va utiliser la connectivité 5G, enfin 4G 5G de façon primaire, ou est-ce que ça va être un lien de backup. Donc, en termes de performance, de statistiques, enfin, de caractéristiques, on est sur le même modèle la même chose que le 415, normal. Mais la différence, c'est que sur celui-là, donc, on a les antennes externes qu'on va pouvoir plugger pour pouvoir offrir cette connectivité 5G. Quelque chose qui est important qu'on voit ici en gras, c'est la présence de port combo, encore une fois. La différence des autres, c'est que sur celui-là, il y en a un port combo qui est réservé pour le management. Donc, en fait, en termes de data plane, il y en aura un seul qui sera utilisable pour gérer le trafic client. Et toujours des ports PO avec le même budget. Et un petit teaser, donc ça répond entre guillemets avec la question d'avant, c'est il y a un nouveau modèle qui est présenté mais pas annoncé. Donc il est présent dans les documents officiels de Palo, mais ils n'ont pas encore annoncé les caractéristiques. Donc là, le 445R 5G, donc ce sera un modèle durci en 5G. Donc pour l'instant, il n'y a pas plus d'informations que ça, à part cette photo qu'on trouve dans les documents. Donc voilà, c'est un petit teaser, donc on pense qu'il va bientôt être annoncé par Palo. Et on reviendra vers vous dès que l'annonce sera officielle. Autre information, je ne sais pas si vous le savez, donc ça fait un petit moment maintenant que Boll a un stock de Palo, d'équipement Palo sur Wettingen. Donc ça va du 410 au 1420. Donc si jamais vous avez besoin pour un projet, ça peut être un différenciateur pour le gagner la rapidité. En général, s'il est en stock chez nous, il est expédié sous 2 à 4 jours, donc comparer aux 4 à 8 semaines potentiellement chez Palo. Donc voilà, c'est toujours intéressant un point à noter. En termes de différentes news Palo, donc que vous avez déjà dû recevoir en partie, normalement plusieurs fois. Donc c'est juste un petit refresh sur le nouveau format du partenariat NextWave. Donc maintenant avec les spécialisations Strata, Prisma et Cortex. À noter que le PCNSA ne rentre plus en ligne de compte pour tout ce qui est certification post-sales. Donc maintenant, il faut du PCNSE ou PCNSC. Donc voilà, si vous avez juste le PCNSA, donc il va falloir vous mettre à jour d'ici le 31 juillet 2024. Également, dans ce nouveau partenariat, dans ce nouveau format, il y a ce qu'on appelle parce que Palo appelle des engagement points, donc des points d'engagement, où en fait, c'est des activités que vous allez devoir faire auprès de vos clients et surtout les faire reconnaître auprès de Palo. Donc, il vous en faut 20 à chaque fois. Donc, il y a différents moyens de les gagner, mais on ne pourra pas les gagner entre guillemets tous d'un coup, 20 d'un coup, sauf pour la partie MSSP. Donc, comment on fait pour en avoir? Typiquement, il y a différentes activités qui donnent ces points. Typiquement, si vous faites un SLR auprès de vos clients, vous allez recevoir 2 points par SLR. Donc, typiquement, si vous en faites une dizaine par an, potentiellement, vous n'avez aucun problème pour faire ces 20 points. Donc voilà, il y a différentes activités. Si vous avez également du matériel NFR, chaque équipement, chaque licence vous ramène 1 point. Donc, ça peut aller vite, mais le but de Palo, là, c'est vraiment de pousser les partenaires à avoir des plans d'engagement auprès des clients, vraiment qui montrent leur expertise et qui se différencient par rapport à d'autres revendeurs et constructeurs. Également pour la partie MSSP, là, c'est un track particulier, un chemin particulier. Donc là, il y a 2 possibilités d'obtenir les points en fonction de l'implémentation, donc le SIP ou le PCV, où en fait, c'est de la documentation à faire sur chaque projet de service managé, avec pour le PCV, c'est un upsell à chaque année suivante de ce plan d'implémentation. Donc, si jamais vous avez des questions, il ne faut pas hésiter à revenir vers nous. Donc, moi et mes collègues, on se fera un plaisir de vous accompagner là-dessus, pour ces questions. Et si on n'a pas la réponse immédiatement, on pourra organiser une session avec Palo en direct si besoin. Autre chose importante, c'est les points que j'allais oublier. Les points, ils expirent au bout d'1 an. Donc, encore une fois, c'est quelque chose à faire tous les ans. C'est pas une fois pour 3 ans ou 4 ans comme on pourrait le faire pour une certification. Donc après, il y a toujours des programmes, des initiatives et des promotions auprès de Palo, donc notamment pour la partie SLR. Donc ça permet encore une fois de retomber sur la partie NextWave. Donc vous pouvez gagner en fait en fonction de vos activités, des sales que vous faites, enfin des ventes que vous faites ou des SLR, des points compatibles, convertibles en équivalent dollar. Et avec un portail qui va vous permettre de pouvoir obtenir des cadeaux en fonction de vos activités. Donc ça, c'est à la discrétion de chaque SE et de chaque entreprise. Également, une opération en cours jusqu'à fin juillet 2024, c'est le Refresh Plus. Donc avec Palo offre des discounts particuliers si vous remplacez des vieux, entre guillemets, vieux hardware par des nouveaux. Donc avec la possibilité d'obtenir des discounts et des conditions assez intéressantes. Donc ça, n'hésitez pas à revenir vers nous et si vous avez besoin d'offres, il faut bien préciser que vous remplacez du matériel et justement comme ça on pourra appliquer des discounts particuliers. Et dernier point, j'ai essayé de faire vite pour pas. Je pense que tout le monde était un peu impatient après les longues sessions. La partie formation, donc il y a la possibilité de faire les DU 210, donc la PCNSA, l'équivalent de la PCNSA chez nous à Wettingen. Il y a également la possibilité de faire toute une suite de formations en ligne, donc cette fois qui sera en anglais, que ce soit du Panorama, du troubleshooting, mais également la partie Prisma et Cortex, si besoin. Donc, n'hésitez pas à revenir vers nous, on pourra consulter, vous faire une offre et discuter, voir comment on peut vous accompagner sur ces sujets de formation. C'est tout pour moi. Donc, encore une fois, si vous avez des questions, il ne faut pas hésiter. Donc, soit à les poser, je n'ai pas regardé le Q&A, je ne sais pas s'il y en a, ou à revenir vers nous par mail ou par téléphone. Hop, je suis allé un peu trop vite. Donc, soit aux adresses mentionnées, soit également, je n'ai pas rajouté la mienne, mais vous pouvez nous contacter, soit par téléphone, soit en direct, soit lors d'un event. Il ne faut pas hésiter à venir vers nous et on vous répondra sur des nouvelles fonctionnalités, sur potentiellement des fonctionnalités en roadmap ou des démos à faire si besoin. So that's it for me. I try to speed up things. And if you have anything else to add, feel free to do it. But I think everyone should be a bit exhausted after the session. So if that works for you, we can wait for a few minutes, see if there's any question, and then we can close the session. Any points from you, Sylvia and Rolf?
Only one. Sorry, I was not fast enough for the slides. We show the training dates for the new 2010, but we also have the training dates for the troubleshooting training online for 2024. So if you want to join one of the troubleshooting trainings, of course, we have only the dates for the German-speaking trainings in Wettingen, but if you request English-speaking ones, please give this hint to Pierre-Louis, and we will try to organize an English-speaking troubleshooting session, the PA-NGFW 330, the troubleshooting course. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I have nothing. I have nothing to add so far.
Okay, so I see there's no questions, so we can maybe close the session if you want.
Okay, thanks so much everybody joining us. It was a pleasure.
Merci à tous et puis à très bientôt au téléphone, par mail ou en vrai. Et si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas. La session est enregistrée, donc elle sera fournie, elle sera disponible. Et si jamais vous ne recevez pas les documents, n'hésitez pas à revenir vers nous et on vous les enverra. Okay. Merci à tous.
Thank you.
Thanks
bye bye.
So much. Thanks, Rolf.
Bye.
Thanks, Pierre-Louis. Bye bye.